Chapter 2, Mishnah 6. As we described in the last Mishnah, a flight of 15 steps led up from the women's courtyard to the Israelites' courtyard, the eastern area of the inner courtyard. Each step was half an amma high, so the difference in elevation between these two areas was 7.5 amos. Here we learn that some of the space under the floor of the Israelites' courtyard contained chambers for temple use. There were 2 chambers built beneath the Israelites' courtyard, and the doors of these chambers were on the eastern side and open to the women's courtyard. There, in these chambers, the Leviim would keep their harps, lyres, cymbals, and all of their other musical instruments when they were not in use. The Mishnah describes the first 2 areas of the inner courtyard, the Israelites' courtyard and the Kohanim's courtyard. These will be explained further in chapter 5. The Israelites' courtyard, the first area of the inner courtyard just inside the eastern wall, was 135 amos in length, north to south, by 11 amos in width, east to west. And so too the Kohanim's courtyard, the second area of the inner courtyard, just to the west of the Israelites' courtyard, was 135 amos in length by 11 amos in width. Ends of wooden beams protruding from the courtyard's northern and southern walls separated between the Israelites' courtyard and the Kohanim's courtyard to mark the boundary between them, because they had different levels of holiness. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says, in addition to these wooden beams, there was a step in the Israelites' courtyard, 1 amma high, that ran from north to south and marked the western edge of the Israelites' courtyard. And the platform that the Levim stood upon while they sang and played musical instruments for the Avodah was placed on top of this 1 amma step, and also ran the entire length of the courtyard. And in the eastern side of the platform were carved 3 steps, and each step was half an amma high. After taking into account the height of the large step, 1 amma, and the height of the platform, 1.5 amos, it is found that the Kohanim's courtyard is higher than the Israelites' courtyard by 2.5 amos. Another feature of the inner courtyard. The entire inner courtyard was 187 amos in length, east to west, by 135 amos in width, north to south. And there were 13 places of bowing down there in the courtyard, corresponding to the 13 places where the soreg had been repaired. Another Tana disagrees. Abba Yossi ben Hanan says the 13 places of bowing down were corresponding to the 13 gates of the courtyard. And as one passed by each gate, he would bow down to praise the beauty of the temple's design. The Mishnah now lists the 13 courtyard gates, including the 7 gates already listed in chapter 1, Mishnahs 4 and 5, although the Tana refers to some of them by different names, as explained below. The southern gates, starting in the west, were as follows: the upper gate, a minor gate, the firewood gate, the firstborn's gate, and the water gate. Why was this last gate's name called the water gate? Because through it they would bring in the pitcher of water for the libations on Sukkot. Rabbi Eliezer ben Yaakov says that the water gate was not named for events that happen in the present, but for events that will take place in the future. Because there, at this gate, the stream of water that will flow through the courtyard of the third temple will be as wide as the stream that pours from a jug. And in the future, it will come out from under the entrance of the temple. The Mishnah goes back to its listing of the gates. Opposite the southern gates were the gates in the north, starting from the west. The Yechonia gate, the offering gate, the woman's gate, a minor gate, and the song gate. Why was this first gate's name called the Yechonia gate? Because through it, Yechonia exited the courtyard when he was exiled. The Mishnah lists the remaining gates. In the east was the Nicanor gate, and it had 2 small doorways, minor gates, in the wall next to it. One to its right and one to its left that people would use when exiting the courtyard. There were 2 minor gates in the west, also used for exiting the courtyard. And these gates did not have a name, because they were hardly ever used.